So it didn't, I guess, because you were there 2010 to 2014, I believe. So you said during the conservative time. This was before Narendra Modi was prime minister, right?
Yeah. But
So it wouldn't have been the BJP that would have been in power, I would think,
no, it was
right?
the Congress that was in power.
Yeah, yeah,
But we made a decision, and part of that was what sort of rationalization do you put in place, right?
yeah.
So the of the G7 countries, we were the only Western one
Yeah.
that engaged with then Chief Minister Modi, and then the other G7 country was Japan, and the Japanese were very engaged in Gujarat as a state. And when I was thinking about this at the time, one, he had never been charged. There was lots of stuff out there. I mean, the Americans wouldn't issue him a visa if he ever asked for one. The Brits, the Australians, same thing. But in my mind, if India has a legal system which we respect. Okay, it's a common law legal system. We know and understand it. They have human rights organizations in the country. May not be to the same. They may approach it differently than we do, but still they have those institutions in place. So my view was there's really no reason why we shouldn't meet with Mr. Modi. I think the Gujarati community in Canada in particular, which is a large one, not as large as the Punjabi community, but still large. They were very keen on building the relationship. And so I got to know Mr. Modi in 2011. I met him many times over the course of my career. So my time in India, not my career, but my time in India. And I felt quite privileged in many ways in 2013 when they had their annual big do in Gujarat called Vibrant Gujarat. I mean, Mr. Modi was there. You had the whole group of Indian major houses. Everyone that you would imagine was there. Ambani's, Adani's, Mr. Tata. Twice I sat beside Mr. Tata, Ratan Tata, and these things go on for quite a while, like 3 hours, right? So he and I had a great chat. We got to know each other quite well. So in the 2013 one, I'm sitting on Mr. Modi's left, Chief Minister Modi's left, and the Japanese ambassador is sitting on the right. At the time, I didn't really think about what the electoral implications of that would be, right? But at the end, there's a picture, and I got to see myself during the election campaign because there was this picture of all these people, all the senior people in the front rows, my hand and the Japanese ambassador hands held up with, with Mr. Modi. So in some ways, I guess they're basically saying, look, people are accepting me. And quite frankly, the 2013 Vibrant Gujarat, the UK decided to come. So as a Canadian, you're quite proud when you're sitting beside the chief minister and the British High Commissioner is at the end of the table, right?
Yeah.
So it's
that's a pretty good position to be in.
Well, I mean, it just we had a pretty good relationship with Mr. Modi coming into his when he became prime minister in 2014. So it was an interesting time, and and he's a very interesting fellow. I mean, because we had companies like McCain's and Bombardier both heavily invested in Gujarat and others. He would meet and we would have conversations. Bombardier had some particular issues. They had won the Delhi Metro contract, and they were looking to, in the second phase, be involved, and it required some tax assistance. And McCain's was looking, because the market's so big for their product, as you can imagine, potatoes in India. They wanted to build a second facility, but it required more water, and water is a scarcity in India.
Absolutely.
And so he was very helpful in both cases. Of course, he didn't make, at least he said he didn't make the decisions himself. He said, I have to take this to my council. And, he's the type of person, and you can see why business likes working with him, because he says something and he does it, right? So it's, and
it's that certainty, right?
That certainty that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And in dealing in other states, you just didn't have that same level of certainty. So,
yeah. Would you say there's any shift for you? And I know obviously you're probably not, meeting with Mr. Modi anymore, but in terms of from what you saw during that time and now, or would you say he's pretty consistent?
He's consistent on the economic front. I mean, and he's actually consistent on the social front. And I mean, that was always it was disturbing, right? Because, he comes from has a very strong RSS background. for people who don't know what the RSS is, but it's sort of hardcore Hindu nationalists.
Yeah.
So he, the social elements really are concerning, and they're concerning to many people. And when I was last in India, the conversation is around the BJP and Modi, is really around that issue. The economy, people will give him pretty high marks on the economy, but this moving away from a secular society to one that is becoming a Hindu nationalist society is really quite disturbing, and it impacts a variety of different religions.
Yeah.
Almost 20% of the population is Muslim, so and they're the ones who take the brunt of it, but also Christians, and to a degree sometimes, although they wouldn't say this, but Sikhs take it, because they're different. I mean, they're not very large as a percentage. Muslims are much, much larger as a percentage, but that's one of the social issues are the things that, and human rights and where they are now on human rights scale. I mean, these are the issues that are problematic, right?